Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European crossover. Um, we've seen crude continue to push a little bit lower after getting above that $50 handle, and we were talking about dollar CAD looking to be a buyer in the 28.85 area, but we stopped basically to a pip right on that 29.11, 29.09. 29.11 is 38%, and we're up a good 100 pips off that as crude began to slide back. But as we discussed with Blake yesterday, the telling tale was RBOB. It was all about RBOB. RBOB is calling the shots. So even though crude was making that run, and there's some talk about Brent going above 50, it doesn't have anything to do with Brent. Brent is just priced differently. Okay, like I told Blake, I go, 9-10 months ago, Brent was trading at a $10 premium. It's a non-factor as far as that, because it got above it. It got above it. Now they trade pretty close to crude, but it's not the same as crude being above 50. Now crude got above 50, but RBOB didn't make a new high, and RBOB hasn't been the one that's been actually driving the market. So that was very telling, and I was saying that even the day before, or the evening before in the Insight call. Euro played out. I told y'all, I was buying the 60, but I had gotten long in the 60 at the same time. Spot was at 11.53. I was telling Blake why I thought, Euro was going to go higher because it was just really sold out. It wasn't like it was a big buyer of euros, just so I thought from a value play. I called for a move to 12.16. I think the high was 12.17, so pretty freaking awesome. I know some of y'all don't like my attitude. Deal with it. I really don't care. 12.16, and I said they'd pull back to 11.87. I think the low was right at 11.87. Right now we're just kind of sitting here at 11.76. So that's about it. And I'm still in a pretty bad mood about what happened to Energy Rosen, so I'm not really interested in taking any kind of crap from anybody, because the guy really gave of his time and got treated like crap for it. So let's say you can't be nice to people. That's just the way it is. Can't be nice to people. They just walk all over you, take advantage of you. So let's see. Dollar yen hasn't done anything. I said the same thing. Hey, it's going to run out of gas between 10.25 and 10.55. Boom. What else is new? That's exactly what happened. We did go black. We popped back up. People were saying, no, dollar yen's going to go higher. I said, no, it's just going to languish in here with a bit of a downside bias, and we've gone lower since then. Cable was hanging around there. I told you I didn't expect a whole lot beyond that 46.50 zone, and it got just barely below 46.50 and popped right back up. Now we've come down and put in a little bit lower, but we're just sitting here at 46.59. There's just not a whole lot of downside, which was my thinking. I told y'all if you got in, like, let's say the 46.74 is 78%, and I said, the peak zone was 46.96 to 47.18, but I even said, hey, 46.92, great area to get in. But you were down, but you weren't that much down. But I said, don't try and get a whole lot out of here. I don't think there's going to be much follow through below 46.50. And sure enough, looks like the low might have been like 46 or something, 47. And then we bounced back up, and then we made another low. Just recently, we made another low. It looks like we may have gotten maybe, let's see, 46.20, and now we bounce right back up to 46.60. I just don't see a whole lot of follow through below 46.50. So that's what I was saying. If you got short, I just wouldn't be trying to get too much out of that. Aussie dollar continues to do okay off of those lows that we're looking at, that 71.52. Never thought it would make it down there. But we're holding up pretty good. Gold still holding near these lows. I thought it would be a decent, nice short covering at 12.39 for people just to cover the shorts. But like I said, we extended even lower. So like I said, if I'm wrong on something, I'm going to point it out. I'm wrong. And when I'm right, you know me, I'm going to toot my frickin' horn till the cows come home. So That's about it. And SPOs are just hanging around this 2092. This 2091 and three quarters, but that 2092 and a half is a big bias pivot. And crude's come off a little bit from its lows that it just recently set. But it's still going to be a downside buy. It's got a good full sell signal that's been enforced on the 30-minute since early yesterday morning. So all that looks pretty good. Got a nice hammer bottom at the time, but that won't be fully processed or come to fruition until the top of the hour, another 55, 52 minutes, and that's in the RBOB. So something you might see a little bit of short covering. So let's go and see what else is going on in the market. I don't think there's any real FX news I can see here. Oh yeah, Yellen's supposed to speak today, but I don't see her really saying too much. It could be a little bit dollar bullish as she acknowledges the economy, and the economy's been pretty decent. So the perception, not the perception, but the way the market might perceive it is anything she says is going to be a little bit dollar bullish, and that's going to go on and reinforce the thoughts about potentially them moving in June, but I really don't think so. Jack says, love your passion, stand up for a stand-up guy like Energy Rose and Polly. Yeah, I mean, that really ticked me off. That left me in a really bad mood because the guy's like freaking huge. People were saying, the thing that really made me more mad, not only that one guy, but like my mom used to say, kick a dog while it's down. Not that he was down, but then people started piling on. He portrays himself to be a big trader. The guy is huge. Okay, he's part of a firm. I cannot remember if you listen to the Anthony Crudele interview. Who's the guy that they all started the firm out with? But the firm is huge, so he was bearish crude. There's no doubt about that. He kept always talking about the glut, but since the beginning of the week, he said that the market wanted to go to 50, So why wouldn't he just get long some futures? So I didn't see the whole part of the conversation, but apparently he must have said something about being long the futures as it crossed about 50, and then some guy tries to call him out, saying, hey, he's being dishonest, and the guy was somebody that, a lot of people follow. So, saying that he was being dishonest, and then he said, if you think I'm being dishonest, then you can unfollow me. And then I guess he had enough at that point and just said, you know what, I'm just getting the heck out of Dodge. And so he just left. I did talk to him via DM, and before he deleted his Twitter account, and so he deleted it. That's it. He's gone. Guy gives his time to everybody. When we did that interview with Anthony Crudele, he wasn't even sure he really wanted to do that interview. And then he reached out to a few of us. I'm not going to say their names, but anyway, he reached out to a few of us via DM that had done interviews with Anthony Crudele. And, we were encouraging him, saying, hey, it's a great thing to do. You ought to do it, Anthony Crudele. Anthony's a great guy, real good stand-up guy, friendly guy, and all that. So he ends up doing it, and he was pretty happy about that. You know what I mean? And so then to get treated like that, I mean, just like, and he said, and I know as of recent, he gets people that give him flack and stuff like that. So he just said it was enough. And just saying someone who, the guy doesn't have nothing to gain from Twitter. I mean, it doesn't. And to share all that knowledge and then just to get, kicked in the teeth is really, really ticked me off. And more than ticked me off was the other people that started to pile on. I mean, maybe they weren't truly piling on, but they were going, well, he really wasn't like that, and he really was saying this. And like I said, the guy was bearish crude in the sense that he kept talking about the glut. And but the idea that, you know, since he deals in the physical, among other stuff, um, that was not out of the realm of possibility that, you know, since he kept saying he was going to go to 50, what the hell? Might as well get long some futures and ride it up there. So, but anyway, that's just the way some people are. So let's go on and see what's happening today. So we got GDP, Q1, second estimate. That's not going to carry much news. I'm not saying it won't carry. You know, it might move the market a little bit because it might move the market a little bit because, you know, it's not going to be the first print. Well, you know what? And it's Q1, so I don't think it'll move that much. Q1 was kind of like, you know, I mean, it looks been better than what people thought, but I don't think it's going to be like gangbusters. So the bias will be to an upside, you know. So that's the only thing. I usually don't, other than the initial print, I don't pay too much to the back stuff, the back prints, unless it's, you know, like there's been a lot of up and down, in which it kind of has been. As people were perceiving the economy to be weaker. Remember in February, all the losers were talking about the Fed made a wrong decision in December. They should be looking to cut rates. Then in March, everybody was looking for the Fed to raise rates. So that's why I say all these people don't even know what the hell they're talking about half the time. So we do have University of Michigan. It's final. That'll make a doggone thing. Yeah, it's going to not move anything. And so that's about it. SPUSA surprised me how well they're holding up here, but I think it's going to have a hard time getting past this 29.2.5. It might be able to get a little bit beyond that. I just don't see it taking another leg. And I'm bullish overall, and I've been saying we're going to go to new highs before the end of August. New all-time highs. Yeah, Adam says, sound goes funny. Don't know if it's my system, if anyone else has issues. Yeah, you're the only one that's got issues because, I mean, you know, your system, because it's coming in loud and clear. And I actually have that mic. Now I position it on the desk real close because I've heard a couple of recordings that Ziggy's done. And even though the mic's not that far away, it sounds like I'm farther away. So, yeah, now I position it fairly close. So, yeah, Scott says you sounded good all week. Yeah, and like I said, when I heard that, I was like, God, you know, it sounds like I'm talking like far away, and the mic was only like about maybe a foot away. But now that I've moved it up closer, I can, you know, tell the difference. If Blake said the same thing. Yeah, Rob says super clear audio. Yeah, Douglas says, what can we do to get Energy Rosen back on Twitter? I talked to him via DM. He said he may come back somewhere down the road. And I would think somewhere down the road, probably the earliest would be 3 months. And maybe if he comes back, maybe closer to 6 months or something like that. Because he did say on his, when he was leaving, he goes, you know, it's been a good ride here. You know, I think he said, I thank my friends or thank those who support or something like that. I don't know what. And then that was it. He said, take care. And then I was jabbering on Twitter and then about the whole thing. And then I finally reached out to him about 45 minutes later. And, you know, he was saying, well, you know, the good thing is we still have each other's email addresses. And next thing I know, he was gone. That was it. And he said, you know, he might come back, but he doesn't know. My guess would be that might be like around 6 months from now, if he does come back. But he said he took a lot of flack as of recent. And I used to, be honest with you, I don't take very much flack at all, but people know that because I'll go bananas on you. Right there in front of Twitter. I really don't care who the heck's listening. I don't care if I've got 12,000 followers. I'll still go bananas on your rear end. I don't take it because I got nothing to market, nothing to sell, so I'm not about to take anything from nobody. And I mean nobody. So let's go and get to the charts. Nick says, who was that poly? Oh, it was Energy Rosen. Energy Rosen. The guy was super huge. He's their firm deals in the physical, the futures, nat gas. I mean, and people didn't even know who the guy was in the sense they were saying, well, he portrays himself to be a big trader. I don't know. The guy is like freaking huge. I mean, like huge. I talked to another guy who was really pissed about it, and he said he was following a guy who was the top trader at his prop firm in Chicago, and the guy was catching flack on Twitter, and he left too. That's what I'm saying. People are so stupid that they don't realize if you take the time just to listen to people or ask people respectfully, even if you want to call somebody on something, I don't mind if someone says, hey, I thought you were doing this or something like that. But if you come at me with an attitude, I'm going to tear into you like nobody's freaking business. Let's go on and get into the charts though. Yeah, Jack says, quick on the spoons, you see a chance of 15 to 20% cross, decline, death cross on the weekly indicator if history repeats. You know what? The fundamentals are too good. I mean, that's what I keep telling people, is that it's going to go higher. And I coined that phrase. I call it, you remember the Bernanke put? I call it the 401k put, which is more people keep going back to work. And we don't have a visible means of retirement here other than the 401k. So people just, it's going to have an underlying bid, and people just don't realize it. And I see a lot of smart people. They were looking for 1860 with that big head and shoulders. And even, before that head and shoulders, we're looking for lower. I just don't see it. It just doesn't merit it. And I've been saying that bit about the 401k put for over a year when I first interviewed with Anthony. I was talking about what I call the 401k put. I think it's going to pull back. I think it's going to run out of gas around this 2092. But, you know what I mean? Like I said, it can pop up a little bit further, but I think it needs to quiet down a little bit. I think that going ahead, people are still concerned they could potentially raise in June, so there's no way it's going to stay up here. I think it's probably going to pull back to 2060, maybe around the 2050s, and then after that, I wouldn't be trying to short this thing. Frankly, I don't even know why Blake does half the stuff he does. To be honest with you, if I was him, I'd just say, you know what, folks, I'm calling it a day. I'm leaving. The show's over after an hour. See y'all later. Just like yesterday. I would have. Hell the hell with that. So here we are in the dollar CAD. Now we talked about this thing going lower because of crude. And I thought, well, crude didn't get that high above 50. That's the only thing. I thought there was a possibility, and I have not traded crude all that great. I mean, I've made money. I've not lost money, but over the last couple of days, I have made hardly nothing in crude. I tell it like it is. I kept thinking this thing's going to take off like a skyrocket, either to the upside or the downside. So I've traded it quite gingerly. And even then, sometimes I haven't come in at good prices, but I came out okay. Because I didn't trust it. I thought it might do something. I even thought there was a chance it could do something stupid. Well, here's what I thought it could have happened yesterday. It came to that area and I think Blake was even looking at with that 127% at 50.20, and I said I had 50.17 and 50.28. I thought at least it would make a run towards 50.50, but I thought it could do something stupid, like run up, tag that high at 51.92, get above it, and then turn around and reverse very hard. That's why I was not putting myself at risk. And I was keeping a close eye on it, and I thought we could come down to here, to this zone here, because it would overshoot. I thought for sure we'd try and hit the stops below 29. And we didn't, although crude was already pulling back. So they pushed dollar CAD about as much as they could go. And here's that 38%. And right here, right there, we'd already hit this high. Right there, I tweet out the chart. I go, this thing is sitting on a launch pad, and it's ready to take off. And look, from that area, that's an extra 70 pips. And like me, I just don't like to get into something late. I just don't like it. And I even said, I wish I was long. I wish I was long. And if you took the bite there, you already gained yourself. Well, this was 76. Yeah, it was right in here. So you gained yourself close to 70 pips. Maybe you already made yourself 60 pips. But you made some money. Let me tell you that, brother. You're not down. And I think that we'll make the run. You can see we're having a little bit of trouble here, pull back. I think 31.31. I think it's hard to say with dollar CAD. I think a chunk of change will be taken off as we cross 31.31. We'll have to see what crude's doing because it may only pull back to 30.83 and then take off like a banshee to the upside. And don't forget, we talked about this area. We get above 32, unless crude is completely coming undone at the seams, people should be taking their profits right in here and look for another pullback. But I would say CAD's been trading tricky, but in a sense, it hadn't traded that tricky. People have just not traded it correctly because they haven't paid attention to the price structure. That's why they haven't done well trading crude. They have not paid attention to the price structure. And I'm not going to go over that because we've already gone into the details of why this was here, and then the hangman here, and the test up here, and then up here, and we talk. I'm not going to go over that all over again, but y'all know what I mean when I reference that about the price structure. People that have not done really well, it's because they did not trade I don't know if they didn't understand the price structure or they didn't pay attention to the price structure. But you know from our discussions, let me tell you, brother, you've traded this thing good. And I mean that's faux show. No one's going to tell me that anyone in this webinar hasn't made money trading dollar CAD. Let me tell you that, brother. So when we get to the dollar yen, Adam says, okay, now it sounds like my system's slowed up. Don't normally have a problem listening on the PC. Frederick says, why did Blake sell dollar CAD? No, I think Blake's still on dollar CAD. No, he would not have sold it because his stops are below 29. And I said, I thought they were going to take out 29. And I said, I'm a buyer. I'm a buyer in here. And I thought they would get down to here. So no, Blake's still long dollar CAD. No way he got out of his position. That'd be crazy, because right when crude was topping. Remember, like I said, you know, like I said, I don't try necessarily to brag, but I have no problem talking smack. Remember everybody yesterday was talking about crude at $51, not $50, and I told Blake, it's all about RBOB. RBOB is driving the bus. And I made the case why we would go lower in crude after it got above the 50. I didn't know how it would go, but I said, RBOB is not confirming this. RBOB is driving the bus. And Blake pulled up RBOB. That's why I told you that I trade a lot on sentiment. And for those that are trading the dollar CAD, we'll go back in here. Just so y'all know what I was referencing. Because this is important for those trading the dollar CAD. So we went to this high in crude, okay? And obviously, you know, Brent was up here. You see how they made new highs up here? But notice how RBOB wasn't. Now, RBOB has been leading the market all the way. And remember, last week, the EPA had those things about, like I told y'all, And someone had asked me, has made a comment yesterday about, well, it seems like you don't understand the physical market. You're very, the guy did tell me, he goes, you know, I respect you because you're an excellent trader, but it doesn't seem like you understand the physical market. And I told him, I go, look, I said on the seminar, on the webinar, I go, I don't pretend to know a whole lot about the physical market. I just trade. And like I said, that's what I always say. I don't look at a whole bunch of indicators. Only thing I have on as far as an indicator is the what you would call the exponential moving average. I do look at the footprint, like y'all know, and you know, try and look at what volume is. Not volume per se, but what they call the order book and all the other junk. But for the most part, I'm just trading. All I'm doing is, like I told y'all before, I'm looking at where crude is in relation to RBOB or in relation to Brent. I don't pretend to act like as if I know a whole lot about the physical market. I'm just trading. That's all I'm doing. Okay, so people start going into all this. I don't even pay attention to what the curve's doing. People go, oh, it's really bid up on the curve and contango and super contango. I don't even know what the hell is going on there. I don't have time to look at that. I'm just a day trader and a scalper. I can't be looking about what the curve is doing back for December of 2019. Are you freaking crazy? Because I don't hold positions, so I don't give a doggone what the curve's doing. But here's the deal. I was saying here, you see here, I pointed this out, right here. And that's when we're here, up in here. And the market's already running out of gas. I go, look, RBOB's been driving the bus. May's the driving season, and now they just had that huge, overwhelming fundamental thing about the EPA. They got to do more reformulated, whatever. Like I said, I don't pretend to act like I know something. If I don't know something, I'm not going to act like I know something. So my thought was RBOB should be really leading the pack, continue to lead the pack. It's got the strongest case. Because I know some of y'all consider fundamentals like a dirty word. You don't have to trade fundamentals. Shy Girl made the same point. She made a good point. She said, people say, what? You make money trading fundamentals? It's not fundamentals per se. You have to know what's driving the market. What is the driving theme of the market? So RBOB, you know, they had that big draw. Remember the last week, RBOB took off like a scalded dog. Then after that, 2 days later, the EPA says, well, whatever they're doing, the reformulated program 2018, which harkened even more demand for RBOB. So why the hell isn't RBOB taken off like, going to Venus? So when crude was making $50, RBOB's struggling here. And we pointed out, I shared y'all the importance of the 65-55 on a daily chart. Let's see if we can pull it up. It goes all the way back to August of last year. You see, here's the 65-55 right in here. And I told you how the market came down here. Here's the 67. We got past it. We got back above it, and right there, that's 65-55. We get above it. We come back to test 65-55, and they just can't really hold it, and the wheels fall off the caboose. That's the significance of 65-55, and why I said the market always remembers the levels, and you really need to be trading the levels more than anything else. Frederick says, do you ever look at price at volume to look at support? Yeah, kind of. I do. I mean, I look at the, here's a couple things. It's something that I just recently, I'll look at what they call the order book. But yeah, I do kind of pay attention. I'm not a big volume profile guy. I try to keep things simple, but I'm not stupid. I'm gonna use whatever tools I can. So here's which I think it's all tied together. Here's the volume profile here on crude. And even though I'm day trading, I try and look at it on an hourly because I'm trying to look at, well, what's really happening. So here's that. The pink line is that volume point of control. And then each one has the day. Well, the next big one is going to be around this 48.60. And you can see this is what they call the fair value. You can have the upside, fair value, low side. Like I said, I don't act like I'm an expert because I'm not. What I'm just saying is I know that there was some decent support here, but I'm really looking at around, I know that there's a whole passel of support around 48.72 to 48.56, which would actually tie in right here on the volume profile. You see that right here, 48, right here, you see that? So I think if we were to come back down, this would be an area that I'd be looking to buy on a pop back up. But we'll have to see how today plays out. We'll have to see how today plays out I think on any rallies, you definitely want to sell them. I mean, obviously that makes the most sense. And that kind of plays into what you want to do with the dollar CAD. But I think a run down here, they already scooped them up around 82. But I think a run down here, you see here, just coming right across, that comes in around 48, 56-ish. And I've got that as a level too. So I think that area is going to be really good, that you could see a very good strong pop. So, there we go. So I try and look at a lot of stuff. Oh, it's already time for break. Doggone. Yeah, we really got a lot of stuff going here. Well, anyway, so we'll, let's see what the heck to put on. Okay, good break. Put on Sweetheart Sister. Catch on a bit. Okay, buddy, welcome back to the crossover, and let's take a look at the euro. It's kind of sitting here doing a whole bunch of nothing, but it achieved what I wanted. Well, so I thought maybe towards the end of the week we'd start working higher, but as I told y'all, you know, I bought it. I went long the 6E as opposed to the spot, but I went long the 6E at 53. Sat here for a while, did a whole bunch of nothing, but then I did point out that I thought we'd get to 12.16. Looks like we made it to 12.17, and I said that on the pullback I was looking for 11.87. Which I think that was actually the low, 11.87. And I said you can probably get long at that point. And so it dipped, and then this is on a 2-hour chart though. And then it did rally. I don't even know how much it rallied. I guess it probably didn't rally a whole lot. Let's get to 12.16. There's the 11.87 I told you about. Then we rallied all the way back up to 12.03. And then we've gone back lower, then we've rallied up to 12, and now we're working lower. I don't really see a whole lot here in the cable. That's what I'm saying, is that if you got short up there, I just wouldn't be trying to take too much out of this. And I was saying when we were up here, I said, I think there's going to be support here at 46.50. If you got it, don't try and get too greedy, because I just don't see a whole lot. And sure enough, the market stopped just past 46.50. We rallied them back up here to not a whole lot, 46.82. We came back. We tested 46.50 again, went lower to about, looks like about maybe 35, 37. Rallying back up here to about 46.90, maybe 80, yeah, probably close to 90. And now we're trying to work here, but there's just not a whole lot of follow through at the moment. Obviously, if this whole thing about Yellen, like I told you, whatever she says, I think she has to acknowledge the economy. I don't think she's trying to hint that they're going to go and take action, but that'll be, you know, dollar bullishly construed, I believe. And dollar CAD, I mean, it looks like we're just going to go higher. It's going to take a little bit while longer. We talked about buying it here in this area. I thought that if crude would get to 50.50, that would allow them to test the 29. They'd press it, get below 29, and dip in here. And I did say the caveat would be you have to be willing to take it down to here, which was right there, 28.44. So I said I want to be a buyer here. And I told Blake, I go, well, that's with the caveat that, you know, hey, if you're buying it in there, realize that it could dip as low as 28.44. So I don't think it get this bad. Crude barely got above $50. I mean, it made it to like, what, 50.21, and then it ran out of gas, so we never did press the 29, and then this market looks to go a lot higher. I think crude will go on and continue to pull back. You may not see the bulk of the pullback. Well, obviously not the bulk of it, but I mean, you probably see a little bit more extensive pullback in the early part of next week. And then I think that if you get this run up to 31.31, people should be exiting. Now, if the wheels fall off the caboose in crude, then we'll finally get to this 32.18-ish up here, 32.40, and I would get the hell out of Dodge unless Armageddon hits crude and crude just loses like $3 and $4. Other than that, I'd be getting the hell out of here, and I'd wait for a reload to about 30.83. The people who, I've said it before, I don't shirk from anything. The people who have not traded dollar CAD is because they chose not to, either they ignored or did not understand the price structure. It's that simple. We talked about this, from the other week. For those that weren't here earlier, that usually come in later in the webinar. We talked about the hanging man, and I got short actually here. We got long to 60. That was a bunch of crap because it doesn't trade anywhere close to pip for pip with the spot. But anyway, so we sold them down here, and when the retail sales came out, and it was good U.S. retail sales, the dollar CAD actually went lower. And I was like, what the heck's wrong with this picture? And I was on there with Blake, and it's trading at 30.94. And I was like, man, I don't even get this. And I said, if it goes higher, you definitely want to sell into this zone. I go, because if you sell into the zone, you will also eclipse this high. And sure enough, they got above here. They didn't make it to the zone, but they eclipsed the high, and then they pulled back. And then I said, we'll probably blow past this zone. We'll probably make it up here to 32. So then last week, I was saying, or was this week, I was saying, man, this doesn't look good. We should be up to 32.18. I go, anybody who got out of their dollar CAD longs is able to buy them back for barely, just a couple of pips more. So I said, I remember saying that at the beginning of the week to Blake, that does not look good. That does not look good at all. I go, I should be, if I'm out of my dollar CAD longs, I should be having to pay up 40, 50 pips, whereas I'm only having to pay up maybe 10 pips to get long again. There's something wrong with that picture. Sure enough, the wheels fall off the caboose. Now, I thought the Bank of Canada would cut rates. I will say that. And I thought they made a mistake by not cutting rates. But obviously, we fell further. But then, obviously, with crude going higher, and that's been the main story, the crude, because this is playing off of the crude. Well, if crude went at $50, then how can you, if you felt that it was going to get to $50, you don't want to be long dollar CAD. You wanted to trade this. So it was a matter of moving in and out of the market. Even though I think the trend will go higher, I think you had to be willing to dance in and out of the market because of what was happening in crude. But the price structure wasn't me. The price structure was telling you what you had to do. Like I said, those of us that have been here on the webinar, let me tell you, y'all made money trading this dollar CAD. And if you didn't, something's wrong with you. Because we laid it out. And I'm talking about this price structure. I know some of y'all were able to dance in and out of the market pretty doggone good. Gold continues to still remain pretty weak. And I thought, like I said, I tell it like it is, I thought we'd see a nice bounce up here. Certainly wouldn't tell anybody to buy gold, but those that were short, I thought it was a great place to cover. And it still went lower, so I was dead wrong on that. I thought for sure they'd hold them here. And even when I tweeted this out, I didn't tweet it out ahead. It was actually below 1239. It was trading at the time 1238.30, and I think it had already bombed out like at 37 and change or something. So it wasn't like as if I was like, oh, 39 is going to hold. Like, it was already below it. And I was saying, hey, look, this is a key bias pivot. It's going to hold. They've had that bias pivot since Moses crossed the desert, blah, blah, blah. You can see how significant it was. I'll be doggone if the wheels fell off the caboose. As Pedro said, there was a bunch of longs who were still liquidating. I can't believe these people were so stupid that they were still long. Just goes to show you how dumb some people are. But it kept remaining lower. Now it's probably going to have, I don't look at weekly charts, but I will when it's significant. This is probably significant, so let's take a look at this. Who knows? The weekly chart really probably looks like crap. Well, that looks pretty bad. Obviously, there's key support right here, 23, to me, the way I look at it, meaning if it closes below 23 on a closing basis, that looks pretty bad. If it closes below 23. This market needs to close above 20. If it closes below 23, then it probably opens the floodgates for lower. Yeah, Frederick says, looks like 883. Yeah, I said this about the dollar yen. I thought we're going lower. People keep thinking we're going higher, and they just don't, I just don't get it. Honestly, I really don't get it. Because, a lot of people say, fundamentals, ooh, like it's a nasty word. It's not a matter of fundamentals. It's what's driving the market. Some people, I don't get some people. I really don't. I explained this clear as a freaking bell. Why here, I thought we were going to go up here. Why we'd run out of gas here. The market ran out of gas right before we got to 50. I said on Friday, this is a great area for day traders or short-term longs to take profits. Although I thought we'd go here. Then we talked about, the BOJ, talk a lot of smack, that they're going to do quantitative easing. They don't give a doggone what the U.S. Treasury says, blah, blah, blah. And that how the U.S. contingent went over there and basically told the BOJ how the cow eats the cabbage. And that's what sold them off. And that the big banks that were wrong, because we talked about that Reuters poll, 80% of the big banks were looking for quantitative easing. So I said those guys and gals were not going to go into panic unless we got below this 877. So I go, they're going to rally them back up. And it was pretty key when they got above 971, because the wheels could have fallen off the caboose if it didn't get above 971. So I said, where they're going to have trouble is 1025. And between 1025 and this 1055, that's a good area for anybody that's trying to get out. I go, I even said, it's not so much a short play, but anybody that was long here, they're getting out. They're getting out of their positions. I'll be doggone if we don't fall apart the very next day. We fall apart. We come back, people, you see, this is why the dollar yen is going to go higher. I said the dollar yen is not going to go higher. The dollar yen is going to languish here with the downside bias. You tell me what the hell's happened since I said that. It's languished with a downside bias. It's not that I have all this foresight. Doggone, pay attention to what's on the frickin' chart and listen to something or read some frickin' news. Stop watching these reality shows. I don't see how someone could think that the dollar yen was going higher. I couldn't have explained it any more clear as if you were a frickin' second grader. And still people, I think the dollar yen is going to go higher. Okay, dude, whatever. I mean, if you think it's going to go higher, then say you're going to buy it on a pullback, because there's nothing here from a technical standpoint when you couple that with what's happened overall. I told you, if the BOJ chooses to do QE, there will be hell to pay. There will be hell to pay. And the U.S. is kind of working as a mouthpiece for everybody else when they're voicing those concerns. And I watched the press conference, the Bloomberg press conference. Obama was saying the same thing. I'm saying is, if the president, I'm saying that they're going to be saying on behalf. People, the reason it's such a key deal is we've got to 5% employment, but we're not making too much headway, okay? So if you have a country that has been selling their currency since Moses crossed the frickin' desert, since, we were at 73, and once we got around above the high 80s, that this country has been selling their currencies like crazy. So the rest of the world is having a hard time getting a foothold with their own economies, and they're paying for Japan. And that's what I'm saying is, you're going to cut this crap out. That's what I'm saying. BOJ was like, oh no, we're going to do this. I go, the hell you will. And that's what I said. When the Treasury went over there, they told them how the cow eats the cabbage. and it wasn't going to happen. That's when we saw this fall. And then they didn't panic, so we saw this rally, but then they got a chance to get out of those positions. So that's why I said, I don't see any trade here in the dollar yen. It's dead money. But I see it only languishing with the downside bias. And then I do see us, like what's his name just said, Frederick, I think there's a chance that we do make it down here because we'll have taken out, the significance is we'll have taken out this low. Trying to make that line straight. It's not coming out straight, whatever. As my dad used to say, you get my drift. Anyway. So it will have taken out this low, and then it could find some support into this zone. And then it can do whatever the hell it wants. I really don't know what it's going to do. And like I said yesterday, I don't have a play on the dollar yen. I have no idea what it's going to do now. I just thought it's going to languish with a downside bias. And that's what the hell it's done. We were trading, look, at 994, we're at 962. You might go, well, that's only 30 pips. Well, what if you'd have bought it here? You'd be down to 30 pips. And if you did short it in here, you'd be up to 30 pips. So I think that's pretty spot on frickin' analysis. So we'll close it up with the crude oil. And we addressed this a little bit earlier, but for those that are just coming in now, we got up to this 50. I thought we could maybe even break higher. Like I said, I was thinking this thing could get going like bonkers. So I was really being cautious. I only made a few nickels yesterday because I played it cautious like nobody's business. I even thought I'd go late in the day. They were trying to push them up higher here, and I tweeted out on the inside call, 49.74 is a resistance level, and I think it ran out of gas right at 49.73. But I thought anything could happen with this thing. But one of the things that was key, and I pointed that out, was RBOB was not confirming this move. WTI and Brent had broken to new highs, but not RBOB. And RBOB has been driving the bus, not to mention in May is the driving season here in the U.S., so there was every reason for RBOB to go higher. Last week, the EPA had their thing about the whatever they're going to use, more reformulated, whatever. Like I said, I don't act like I'm some expert on all that stuff. I just trade it, and I look at relationships as to how things are trading across these three markets, and then I look at the levels, and that's pretty much it, and the footprint. So, but to me, that was telling me this market's in trouble. You know, these other two, because it's not being confirmed by the RBOB, which was the one that was, you know, driving the bus. That told me pretty much all I wanted to know. That being said, I wasn't going to get myself in trouble because I knew that if I tried to short it too early, if it starts to run away, I've got to get the hell out of Dodge because it could run 50 cents, 75 cents, you know, get above 51.92. I mean, get above 50.92. So I was playing it exceptionally gingerly, and I told people, look, some people started asking me, is this the top, is this the top? I go, hey, look, don't worry about that. If it does show, and it does look like we had to have the top, I go, there'll be a lot of money to be made on the downside. You don't have, and I was telling this in the New York session. I go, you don't have to rush in right now. After the New York session, we've actually had a nicer extended move lower. That's what I'm saying. When it looks like, okay, it looks like the deal's done, there'll be, if you take a look at this in context, one of my favorite words, there'll be enough money to be made here that you don't have to be playing hero ball and trying to sell the top. Now it looks like we probably do have the top, so everything looks probably okay. And you can play it that way. Now it's Friday, anything can go on and happen, but overall it looks like you're probably okay. I think Blake should be coming in.